Okay, I think this is where we left off yesterday. So today what we'll be doing, we'll be continuing on the marketing plan. We're dealing with the two stages, the first two steps. Remember yesterday we spoke about the 10 steps towards developing a market plan, and we said the first two steps, we consider them to be the background of the marketing plan. So we're going to start by finishing off that today, and then continue with actually dealing with the rest of the 8 steps and what exactly needs to be done. You take into consideration when you're actually completing that part of the marketing plan. So what we also, so today we'll start off by dealing with the product attributes. The product attributes or benefits are derived from consumers' perceptions of the product. So so there is a lot that, like we said yesterday, if you're doing marketing, definitely psychology is something that you will need to understand and embrace. So in here, as we're talking about perceptions, we can all be consuming the same product, but somebody else's perception of this product and what it means to them is totally different from somebody else. You know, if you're an individual, for example, we're talking about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So for someone, a BMW 3 Series means that, you know, they for them it's a symbol of being having accomplished things, you know. But for someone who can afford probably a G-Wagon, a BMW is just one of those things that happen because they are at a different stage in their lives as far as what needs have been satisfied for them. So it also, you look at it from that point of view, and you know, for somebody other things mean just basic needs. For other people they mean accomplishments. So perceptions is also something that you need to manage, because to that individual, that perception is their reality. So you should be in a position to actually understand them and influence them as well, if you want them to form part of your consumers. When a consumer has a different need perception than the marketing strategy, there will be misalignment. Exactly what I've just said, that now when you market your product because you didn't understand the needs of that particular consumer, then your strategy will not get them to a point where they actually are going to buy your product. For an example, a businessman purchasing clothes may not necessarily want the cheapest price, but rather quality and value for money. So if the main attribute for the menswear is marketed as cheap, it may not satisfy the consumer needs. In such a case, repositioning may have to take place, aligning the marketing strategy with the perceived benefits of the product. So you think people are looking for cheap things, but for other people, when it's cheap, it means it's of lesser quality, but it's not necessarily the truth. Because if you're, for example, you find that in your manufacturing process, you've managed to cut down on a lot of things, you still end up with a product that you manage to negotiate down the labor costs, or they are produced somewhere where the labor costs, I think a lot of clothes are produced in Indonesia or China, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's of low quality. It's just that you manage to cut a lot of input costs. So when you put it out there in the market, you can charge a lesser price than someone who produces exactly the same product, but their factory is probably in South Africa, where the labor costs are a little bit steep. So the quality might not be compromised, but because for someone price means a better quality, So sometimes it's important to just, you do the background and understand as a consumer as well that you might be missing out on bargains, not necessarily that it's bad quality, it's good quality, but it's the production process afforded you the opportunity to pay less. We need to do an exercise. I know we just settled in, but this you'll also use the information that we spoke about yesterday. Basically, the exercise is on branding. Complete the following exercise on positioning and perceived benefits. So we spoke about positioning. Positioning is related to what we've just discussed, the attributes. What do you believe what are you benefiting from this particular, from as an individual, and what are the benefits that you get out of this? For an example, PEM Golding. I'm sure most of us are familiar with that. PEM Golding is one of the leading estate agencies in the country. So when you think of PEM Golding, what features do you think about, and what perceived benefits do you come to mind when you see the name PEM Golding? Anyone who would like to kickstart our discussions today?
Good evening, Lamisa. This is Alex. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. And how are you, Alex?
Good. When I see PEM Golding and I see their brand, I think it's huge, Golden Gates, and they're playing on the word Golding. So what I see or imagine is luxury living in terms of houses, properties, luxury properties. Yeah, that's what I see when I see and imagine PEM Golding.
Okay. And also you're probably thinking luxury living, quality as well,
Correct.
If you buy via, because they also participate in not necessarily all the couple of millions. They do also sell some cluster homes, but just because it comes via PEM Golding, you almost feel like this product is of good quality. I don't expect a lot of defects or problems. So that's very true. Any other inputs from anyone else? Okay, if you can move on. And also, I think what also you can look at, Alex, from PEM Golding is also the service you expect from them, besides the product itself, but the actual transaction. You like, they've been around, they know what they're doing.
It makes them sound professional, efficient, and that when you deal with them, they're just going to give you a very satisfactory service.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Alex. And then BMW, who would like to give that a try?
Hello?
Right. Yes, I can hear you.
Dumisa, I don't know why I'm coming through on my cell phone. Sorry, I'm on the internet now.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyone who'd like to give it a try, to give the thingy, what you think we're getting from a BMW? CD, is CD here? Nompilo?
I'm here, Osmomisa.
Okay, all right. Do you want to give it a try?
For the BMW, yeah, I think it's a luxury car. So I think comfort, luxury you get, that's what you would expect to get, the benefits, the branding features. I think the branding, you feel more of luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Status as well.
It's a nice looking car. The aesthetics of it. Yes. Okay. And also for those who love speed, you know, the benefits, that you know what, I can lead the pack on this one. I can get the sorry. All right. And then a brand that is not one of the big. Anyone else would like to add on the BMW? Cabello. I expected a lot of guys of gentlemen to come in this side. Okay. All right. All right. Let's move on then. Pepsi. It's a brand that is not the biggest in our country, but what do you think Pepsi brings to the table?
To be honest, when I think of Pepsi or when I see Pepsi, I just see them as Coca-Cola's competitors.
Mm-hmm.
And this is according to me. I don't see them as a high-end luxury or preferred brand. I just see them a little bit inferior to Coca-Cola because even their taste is not so pleasant.
Okay. All right. Anyone else would like to give that a try?
Hi, Ngumisa. It's Tabo.
Yes. Yes, Silho.
Okay. I would like to add something about Pepsi. Also, it's my opinion around it. I would think because it's probably cheaper than Coca-Cola, it doesn't really taste nice.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say what Alex said also, that it's inferior to Coca-Cola, and yeah, it just tastes weird. I don't know.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's not
like a tap.
It tastes like a Pepsi.
Yeah, like a tap.
Okay. Or like a tap. Yes,
Yeah.
Cabello.
I think this perception is highly dependent also on locality, hey? Because, for example, specifically in Africa, in majority of African countries, Coke is not as big as it is like in South Africa. You know, and also in the States, Pepsi is a fair competitor. If you go to majority of the shops that side and you want a Coke, they'll be shocked. Not majority, but most of them drink Pepsi, even though Coke is still dominating. So I think in this, it's highly determined by locality. So if you would ask this question to someone living in a different country, they might have a different perception. And I like the name that they use, perception.
Yeah. And I think this whole exercise is in a way showing us the loopholes, or what can I say, that we can poke holes in the marketing plan of Pepsi in South Africa, because they could easily change that by positioning their brand, as you're saying. So it's a typical example where you can see that if you do not, because I'm trying to think, I haven't seen a Pepsi advert on TV in a while. So probably they decided they're not interested in South Africa for whatever reason, you know, because now the fact that we don't see it a lot, and we got to a point that our taste buds got so used to Coca-Cola that when we sip a Pepsi, we would like to taste a Coca-Cola, and we get disappointed because we find that it's not as bad. It's just that when you see Pepsi, the first thing that comes to your mind is Coca-Cola. So as much as you are aware you're drinking a Pepsi Cola, but you're still expecting a Coca-Cola taste. So yeah.
Hey, I'm in class.
So yeah, I think Pepsi is exactly that an example of, you know, the brand, the positioning, brand positioning by the company. Not really, the focus is not there. because I think they were there in the past and they left and then they came back. But I don't think a lot of people did even recognize that they've been back, or they even noticed that they left. I really, yeah. But thank you. And I also went and just checked up on what exactly is Pepsi, whatever, selling, or they are positioning in relation to, especially when you compare with Coke. Coke, you look at it, is more about fun, because if you see Coke, they are, especially if you remember the adverts they had around 2010. Even outside of 2010, but it's always something about having fun, about meeting with people, it's about people, it's a whatever. And on the other side, Pepsi's positioning is more about individuality. It's about culture. So you can see they also, as much as we see them as competitors, but the target market seems to be also different, slightly different, because Coke is, when you see Coke, people come together, people are talking, people are whatever. But when you talk about Pepsi, they're about looking at culture and individuality. That's what I read up on about them. So yeah, it's different, and the fact that they haven't gone down, it means this is working for them. It hasn't shut shop. Yeah, it is working. It's deliberate what they're doing. They know who, maybe they took a decision that we're not gonna compete with Coca-Cola, but we know there are consumers that we're gonna get, and they're getting them. They are not shutting down. They just probably leave, like Gabriel was saying. In America, it's a different story. So they probably test the market and see if it's not working, and they leave. So in South Africa, we think they failed, but probably not their playing field. Interesting, eh?
And I've also, just by observing their advertisements, I've noticed that their inclination is also more on sport personalities. It's like on soccer. Well, that is one advert I've seen of them, where they would make Lionel Messi their brand ambassador. So it's like their focus is focusing on soccer, or on sport rather.
Okay, all right. Interesting.
That's so true. They focused a lot on big sports events and sponsorships as well. But in the case where someone would willingly go into a supermarket or store and buy Coke, for them, they deal more with partnerships with food ventures. For example, if you go to Burger King, you don't get Coke there; you get Pepsi products.
Okay.
Right? So and you Burger King, but also you're paying for the drink as well. And I think that's how the market is also driven.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So it means, if you don't just say, just because I'm not the leader, my business can't be successful. You just need to apply yourself and say, okay, what can I do differently?
Yeah.
Because it would be interesting to also, you can have volumes, but then those volumes are driven by something. They are costs that whatever. It will be interesting to compare. Maybe we'll have a look at that, and then we can discuss it maybe on Monday or something, to look at the profit margin for Pepsi versus Coke. Not necessarily the actual profit, but the margins. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Coke might have billions, but when you look at the margins, you're like, okay, all right, who is doing better? You might not have the biggest market, but from a profit margin point of view, Pepsi could have areas where they're doing better than Coke.
If I can come in.
Yes.
All right. Yeah,
Yes, you may.
Yeah,
Yes,
Pepsi is actually bigger than Coca-Cola. So Pepsi Pepsi has invested not only in the cola drinks, but in the food and snack market. It's actually very, very
Okay.
big. Like Kabelo was saying, in the States, Pepsi and Coca-Cola is like Vodacom and MTN. You are not really sure
Mm.
which one is bigger than which,
Which one? Yeah.
but Pepsi is bigger than Coke. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Munasi. Interesting. So just
Mamisa,
because it's,
you spoke
yes, go
yesterday
ahead.
about why Coke advertises so much, and I don't know if you knew there was a one particular year where Coke thought they were so big and they didn't need to advertise, and they didn't do much advertising, and they actually saw from their revenue that revenues dropped drastically, major, big time. And from that learning curve that they got, they decided that they would just go on massive marketing and advertising skills, and that's why you see almost every second, every minute a Coke advert. It was from that one incident where they did not advertise for a long period, and that's why their margins, their profits dropped drastically. So I just wanted to add what you said about Coke advertising all the time yesterday.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for that. All right, then, if we can move on. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. All right. Continuing on our journey of on the background of the marketing plan, we also look at the product life cycle. It's important that when you do when you go into market, you need to understand exactly at what stage is your product. So the product, the life cycle, we have 3 stages. You have the introductory phase, you have the maturity phase, and you have the evoke phase. So in the introductory phase, you need aggressive awareness, so your aggressive campaigns that you put in there. You branding campaigns, so you need to be on the faces of people, and so that you can make sure that you people don't forget you to the point that they're like, what is this thing? Maybe let me just have a look at it. So frequent repetition when you're actually entering into the market, and you actually do trials and retrial consumption just to make sure this is on the face of individuals. If people don't get your samples at your campaigns, if you probably go into in-store advertising, you put samples in magazine and all that stuff, but just make sure that sorry, you are in the face of the individuals. And then at the maturity phase, and awareness is also there, and at that point in time, your target market has been established and the products are standardized and sophisticated, and you also need to make sure that there is fierce competition, of course, because other people will come, even if you were the first to get into the market. But as soon as other businesses can see that the product is moving, then they will definitely get in there. So there will be fierce competition, but the work that you do in the beginning, make sure that at least you can retain your market share. And also what Alex was saying, that you don't stop your marketing. Coca-Cola, we've been drinking it for a long time, but clearly when they don't remind us every day of who they are, then it creates space for people to want to consumers to look at other brands as well, and they might just drop the ball in there. And then at the stage that we call evoke, is where a product needs to be repositioned or revamped. So you try and find new ways of keeping your consumers excited about this particular product. Looking at the product life cycle. So that was the end of the business review, the first step of the 10 steps towards the marketing plan. The second step, which is also part of the background of the marketing plan, are the problems and opportunities. Problems, we look at them from a position, situations of weakness. So when you're looking at something as a problem, it's definitely making you uncomfortable. You know, so it's something that's kind of with negative connotations. And then when we talk about opportunities, we're looking at things at whatever is in front of you from a position of strength. Hence, when it is important, like I think it's something that you hear all the time, that you shouldn't look at when something is not going well, look at it as an opportunity to come up with something new or a different way of dealing with this. It's an opportunity to do something different, but don't look at it as a problem per se, because the minute you look at it, you kind of you want nothing to do with it. So so look at it as something that I can conquer and work on it and improve. Problems and opportunities may be identified in the following areas. Sales revenue, are the sales up or down? So even if they are down, what you should see it as an opportunity to actually improve. So you acknowledge that, okay, there is a challenge in here, but this is a challenge that's creating an opportunity for me to do something different. The competitor review, competitors, are they weaker or stronger? The target market review, is your consumer more or less aligned? The awareness and attitude review, are the consumers aware of the product? Have they accepted it? And are they happy that they are deriving value from whatever you are offering? Trial and retrial review, just to see that even though you did a retrial, you did a trial, there were actually sales that were generated, and you continue, doing retrials, sales are still happening, so this determines the sustainability of the product. In here we have a case study. It's rather long, but I think it's something that is interesting that we should go through. So this is a matter of real estate, looking at the different generational gaps. So the challenge here, the baby boomers are trying to sell, but who is buying? So when we're talking about baby boomers, we're talking about people that were born during around, I think they were born after World War II, so around 1946 to around 1965. So if you think about those individuals, some of them are already in retirement, or as others are getting ready to be in retirement. It's a rather broad spectrum. So we're looking at people from the age of 54 to about 74. So even the ones who are not retired, but retirement is not really far from them. A reader recently forwarded an article about the real estate generation gap. This article does a fantastic job in presenting a very real problem with our current real estate situation. With an already soft real estate market, the prospect of even more homes fueling the inventory makes the situation potentially much worse. What is the problem? Baby boomers have fueled the housing market for the past 10 to 15 years as their kids moved out, and a strong economy allowed them to buy or build bigger homes. As retirement draws near, many of these boomers find that they no longer need as much house or are possibly looking to move. Typically, that wouldn't be a problem, but it is. The problem is that many of the Generation X, So when you're talking about Generation X, we're looking at the age individuals. So it's the next generation after the baby boomers, from the ranges of 1965 to around 1979. Do not seek or have a desire to own large homes, or are not even at a stage in their careers where that type of purchase can be made. As more and more boomers seek retirement and the sale of homes, who are going to be the buyers? A false sense of worth. Another big problem with the boomer generation is that many find the bulk of their net worth tied up into real estate. Many of these individuals purchased or built a new home during the rapid expansion of the 90s and saw home values double or triple in some places. This growth fueled the idea of using their homes to fund a large portion of their retirement. As home prices level off and begin to fall in some areas, these people will not be able to get what they want for their homes. Some will simply refuse to sell at the discounted price, while others will sell and take a significant hit. Suddenly, they realize that they don't have the money they thought they did. Unfortunately, it is retiring in the coming year and was seeking advice. Her retirement account was valued at 180,000 rand, and she said she realized it wasn't enough. So asked her what her plans were, if she was going to continue working part-time or had other savings, and she said no. She had planned on using her home for the majority of her retirement when she sold it and moved. But she was upset because she can't sell it for what she feels is worth right now and doesn't know what to do. So how serious is the problem? Clearly, the soft housing market is a cause for concern for these people, but how serious is it? According to the article, every single member of Generation X wanted to buy one of the baby boomers' 34 million homes, and every single boomer wanted to vacate. All the homes would get sold, with 15 million Generation X's left over. But the numbers don't actually work out like that, since most young would-be buyers are coupled up. In reality, there aren't nearly enough Generation X households to go round, and it's not a generation that particularly likes big homes that the many boomers have gone for. So that is a problem. Clearly, not every boomer will... Hello? Clearly, not every boomer will just sell, like not every Generation X person will be buying. But the numbers are alarming, so there is a gap in there. There are many more boomers than our generation, and we don't even care to live in the houses they do. So who's going to buy? The problem is that the younger generation doesn't want their Oppenheimers or large homes. Our generation is waiting longer to get married, having fewer kids, and focusing on building careers. We don't have a need for larger homes, nor can we afford what our parents are asking for them. The boomers are left holding the bag, and I'm not sure how this will ultimately play out. So what is the problem? We just went through the article. So the question is, what are some of the most prominent problems facing new real estate business at the moment, taking into consideration that what we have just gone through? How can you position your new company to overcome the problem and create opportunities for Generation X? What would you consider is an appropriate marketing pitch in the above situation? Right, can we have a discussion around this? Yes. Any takers?
Hi, Lisa.
Yes.
It's Patricia here.
Yes, hi, Patricia.
Hi. I'm Alberton, and next to where I stay, there's an area called New Red Road.
Okay.
This area, it's like, it used to be like 100% your baby boomers.
Mm-hmm.
And the minimum stand was 2,500 square meters. So these are large stands with huge houses. In the last 10 years, the area has completely transformed because nobody could afford. I also wanted to stay in that area, but I couldn't afford. The cheapest house was like a couple of millions because those are houses. But now what's happening, they are selling those houses at a much cheaper price. So people are going there buying 2 or 3 stands. That whole area, New Red Growth now is becoming a townhouse area. So all areas are being rezoned and they are consolidating the stands, putting multi-lets in the entire, now more than 50% of that area, it's your townhouses and office complex. Maybe because that is in town, that is one of the solutions that challenge could, that real estate who sees possibilities have realized the way to go. And it seemed to work because 3-bed townhouses, they start at 1.8 million. So you buy one stand of 2.5 square meters, you get about 8 of those townhouses inside, and you sell them each at around 1.8. So that was my observation there, that it was the boomers generation, and now we want to go and stay in that area. We prefer that they make the house smaller and then we buy.
Yeah. So so the solution, the boomers are still, I think they're still disappointed, but it's better than nothing. The market moved. Yeah.
It works for us. Yes.
Yeah.
In the generation, and it works for us. But for them, it's bad. But it's solving our problem. We don't want those stands are just too big. I don't even want to look at that garden and think of maintaining it on weekend. It's just too big for me. But the moment those apartments smaller, we buying.
Yeah, and I think when they bought their property, things, cost of living was not as bad. You could afford to, they could afford to have a full-time gardener, but with us, you just want that service once a week, and it becomes quite expensive. Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, Kabelo.
Apologies to deviate a bit. I just want to answer this using another generation. I don't even know what to call it, right?
Okay. All right.
In South Africa, that would be the part of the students. In Japan, the implemented concepts called capsule hotels.
All right.
So it's like a 1 by 2 meter capsule where you just slide in for you to sleep, So in South Africa, if you check students, they spend at least 18 hours in university campus or library studying. When they come back, they want to sleep. So paying 3.4 per month might not be that sustainable, So basically, there's a whole new market rising. Maybe it's not yet there in South Africa, but in other countries are there. Like literally, people pay close to nothing to sleep in that capsules. They have showers and libraries downstairs and everything, So now we're moving to a point, at least for a certain market, where they don't even need a fully fledged bedroom, just something they can slide in for 6 hours, slide out in the morning. So the future is very exciting.
Wow. Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting concept. I think it's a concept.
That's very interesting.
Yes, it is. It's like you are at a layover at an airport somewhere. You're en route somewhere. It's not like it's your home place. That's very interesting. Those capsules, Kabelo, I'm sure it's things similar to the what Google offers in their offices. Now, in Google, they offer sleeping stations because they don't really want people to go home. For them, if you are tired, just take a nap and whatever, and then you wake up and you continue with the business. Because I guess for creatives, it's not easy to to keep those set working hours. So if you want a nap, you can sleep in there. But that's interesting. That is really interesting. And especially considering the challenge that we're having, because currently now we're looking that it's going to take us another, a couple of years to actually deal with the backlog. So it means, the current student accommodation developments can actually almost double what the capacity just by looking at this concept. Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Any takers? Thank you. Any other takers on this? Another area that came to mind for me is how it has happened now, the Hartfield area, because those massive houses, that's what came to my mind. The massive houses that and most of those high what can I say, the student accommodation, they developed from those big mansions that were owned by the boomers. And it means, at that time, people in other government departments, Okay, can you hear me?
Is it just me or you're
You
cutting?
are vanishing away.
Yeah, I saw a message. Are you able to hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you, Ncubisi.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what has happened? Okay, if I can just go back. So those were some of the things that I was like Hartfield, the Hartfield student accommodation. So yeah. Any other takers on this? All right. I think we can move on now. We now going to look at the other 7 steps, the marketing plan, the marketing plan, the rest of the marketing plan. So the first step in this step 3 is looking. So I said 1 in here because it's the first step in the actual marketing plan called the sales objectives. Sales objectives, they project the levels of goods services to be sold. Everything that follows in the plan is designed to meet the sales objectives. So market, you need to establish realistic marketing objectives. You determine the amount of advertising and promotion amounts to be budgeted for. The actual hiring of marketing and sales personnel, the distribution channels to be used, and finally the amount of product to be produced. So these are the things that you take into consideration when you're actually developing your sales objectives. The elements of sales objectives. So some, if the sales targets are not set realistically, the operational costs are bound to increase dramatically in an effort to attain these goals. But if the sales objectives are unrealistic and the actual sales themselves exceed the expectations, you may not have planned for the additional demands on infrastructure, cash flow, production, distribution requirements, and after-sales services. So it is important that, I think when you're doing your marketing, because you're the business owner, it's important to make sure that you get you do your proper research and get all the reviews and the reports in dealing with these matters. And then the other elements of sales objectives is short-term sales targets are generally for 1 year, and long-term objectives may be set over a period of 3 to 5 years, depending on requirements of the product, such as real estate or capital expenditure and equipment purchases. So it depends on what business you are in. So if you are in real estate, you're probably looking at more long-term objectives than short-term objectives. The short-term yearly objectives must be measurable on a quarterly and even monthly basis to ensure the path laid out is still followed. The intervention strategies are to be implemented timeously when required. So even if you're in real estate, your rentals and the likes, you can look at it from a short-term point of view, but your developments, you look at them as more long-term objectives. And these objectives need to be measurable in terms of the rents, the number of units sold, the transactions that you've concluded, even if they not completely, have yielded results and the person served. So basically, these are guidelines on how you actually set your sales objectives for your business. Another area that we look at on the steps of the marketing plan are the target markets and the marketing objectives. Once you have developed your sales objectives, you must determine to whom you will be selling your product. The aim is fulfilling those needs and wants better than the competition. Therefore, you need to determine your target market, and it is a very critical step in your marketing planning process. The marketer must decide which target segments will form the core of the business and receive the emphasis of effort and budget. So it is important that you know exactly who you're going to look at. So without a target market, basically, you're not selling to anyone. So your product could be there, but your business will not be moving. And then as another concept that you need to take into consideration when looking at your target market is the segmentation, which is the selection process that divides the broad consuming market into manageable customers, customer groups in line with common characteristics. What do we look at? We look at consumers that have look at consumers and look and analyze them from a demographics point of view. You also look at from an attitudes point of view, what are they looking for, the lifestyles that they have, what are their concerns. So you actually, concerns for a young single 30-year-old are different from a family man with young kids and whatever. So it's important that you actually segment your market. So you can say, I'm looking for a group that is earning a particular income, a particular income bracket. But then if in that income bracket, you need to also dig deeper and look at what you segmented, even if you're saying, I'm looking for people who are looking for homes in this particular range, but you also segment it further and look at what their unique needs and their purchasing habits. And there are two broad segments for most businesses within which you will develop additional strategies. It's current customers and also how you're going to get new customers. What we will need to do in here, some of these exercises, because now they will refer back to the virtual organization that we spoke about yesterday. It's just for you to understand what needs to be done, but to not necessarily be going deep. For example, the question is, who are the current customers for the organization you have selected? That calls for some research in that you would have selected. If you remember yesterday, we were looking at, I think it was a cell phone shop, it was courier services, it was a bookstore, it was a bakery. So, then their dynamics will differ. But what is important is for you then to demonstrate your understanding of what is discussed for that particular sector. So we won't be going through this in class. So basically is you need to understand the current customers for the organization, who will be a potential target market for the organization, what would you advise them to do to attract the new target market. And then moving along, we'll also, as part of looking at the target market, these are some of the factors that you need to consider to actually establish your target market. I think what we were talking about when you going deeper to presentation, this is what you're looking at, the gender and positioning, a particular age group, the occupation, the household sizes. So this helps you even further to understand your market better. These are the kind of marketing objectives. I think what we say is that a marketing objective, like we say with all objectives, it must be specific. So you have a particular goal. It must be measurable, that is quantifiable in terms of the target market behavior and resulting sales. It must relate to a time period. Is it 6 months, 1 year? Focus on affecting target market behavior, such as retain customers, or this is a new product, you give out trials. Do you want bigger purchases, or you're looking for volumes, more frequent purchases? So the kind of marketing objectives that you put in place to define your target market is it's either you want is the retention of the current customers, increased purchases from existing customers, secondary marketing, word of mouth of customers. So this is how you should look at when you're asked to actually come up with marketing objectives. These are the kind of objectives that you look at when you are trying to craft marketing objectives. As we said, what is your goal? What results do you want? How would you attract clients to come back to your organization? So this is a follow-up on the exercise that we've already started. And then the next step is looking at the strategies. The marketing strategy is a broad directional statement indicating how the marketing objectives will be achieved. It represents, firstly, a view of a first overview of various marketing elements and how they will be utilized to achieve the marketing objectives. So these are the kind of issues that you address when you're developing a strategy. What do you want to do? I want to build a market or still some market share. How are you gonna do? What are you gonna focus on? National, regional, and local markets. Seasonality strategies. What are you gonna do differently? During school holidays or during Christmas time. The spending strategies within the organization. Are you going to issue samples? So how are you going to spend as part of this? What strategies do you have for your competition? As far as target market, what are you doing for the target market? You need to continuously keep abreast of what's happening with your target market, and all so that you can actually preempt their challenges before they even aware of what they need. Your product strategies, are you keeping it the same? Are you enhancing it? The naming, the packaging and pricing, which all goes into the branding of the product that you're selling. What are your selling strategies? The advertising, the messaging, the media, the internet. So we will talk deeper into that. We will unpack it. It's part of the next stages that we're going to be dealing with. And then the next step is communication goals. There are 4 A's representing as far as the communication goals are concerned. The 4 A's is the awareness, the attitude, action, and more action, and more action. So product awareness starts with the unaided or aided awareness of the product. How do you make sure that because what you want to achieve, you want to make sure that people are aware of your product. Once the consumer is aware of the product, they form an opinion or a position and attitude around the product. Would they try it? Will they switch to it? So, when you actually are on this awareness campaign, you need to make sure that you create a lasting impression that you can sway your new customers, and also make sure that your current customers continue believing in your product. And then the new customers, are they going? Is there action that's going to happen with all your efforts in terms from a purchasing point of view? As a first-time user, a lasting impression is now formed and the product must earn its keep. Or the consumer, the next one, further action, it's more about the repetition. The consumer take the critical decision to repeat the purchase. Therefore, this is a beginning of a retained customer. So this is what, so you need to monitor, you need to, when you say you've created awareness, what do you expect to how do you expect to actually measure that or monitor that has happened? With the purchases, you can monitor the numbers. And so also engaging with the individuals, like to try and assess, their opinions and their positions about your product. So having feedback sessions, whether it's questionnaires or something, but you should always have ways of measuring. As we said, that with all the objectives, they must be measurable, and you must definitely measure them. How do you operationalize your communication plan? Once the communication plan is in place, a clear operational strategy must be developed to launch the plan. Effective and efficient operational implementation can only happen if the plan is clear, the goals are defined, or the data for collecting, analyzing, and interpreting an action are clearly defined. So like we've said, I've just said now, that whatever you choose to do, when you put on goals, they must be measurable. You need to know how you're going to know if things are happening. And then, any questions? Okay.
All good.
All right. Thank you. The next step in the marketing plan is looking at the marketing mix tools. The marketing mix is the combination of the elements that go to frame the marketing strategy for a company in relation to products and services to help them to achieve their marketing objectives. The marketing mix has traditionally focused on 4 elements, which I think most of us has come across this: the product, the place, the price, and the promotion. But now there are 3 other P's that have been added, which now make up 7 P's: the process, the physical environment, and the people. What are we talking about in here? So when you're talking about, so step 7, the marketing mix tools that we spoke about. So it's step 7 in the broader 10 steps, but from the marketing plan point of view, it's step 5, because the first 2 are more the background. The product naming and packaging will probably have more impact on a brand positioning than any other marketing mix tool. If these 3 elements do not align with your brand positioning, there is little hope to achieve the desired position in the marketplace. So, if it starts with also, the packaging. If you are selling a prestigious product, it should start with the packaging of the product itself. It must, someone shouldn't be paying, for example, if you look at the packaging for, who's doing this, Bonang, for example, issued the sparkling wine, the Method Classic. But then you look at how fancy the packaging is. It's gold with touches of pink, and then when you look at the price, you're like, okay, you understand where it goes, because the price fetches prices of the French champagne, some of the French champagnes, like your Veuve and the likes. So, you know, it kind of wants, as much as I think it is a yes, because it's an MCC, so it's a locally produced product. But then, you know, because of the actual branding around it, then it kind of, you know, as we said earlier on, the perceptions, people are prepared to pay. The presentation is there, and it is convincing. Like we say, the product perception is closely linked to the product positioning, and the perception is linked to the packaging that holds the product and carries the product name. So those are the things you need to look at depending on where you want to pitch your product in the market, and in your target market. So understanding what those individuals are looking for, your target market, you know, if they're looking for prestige, then you go to town and actually make sure that the presentation gives, it supports the quality that yeah. So like in other shops, you would go, when you go to Woolies, you get a packaging, you know, a simple packaging, but the higher, the more prestigious the clothing shop are, you just even see the pack where they're gonna put your purchase. It's like you can pay another 50 rands for it, but of course it's been built into the cost of whatever you are buying, the price that you are paying for the product. But you know, people who like status, who are looking for status, it's important for them that they are not seen carrying your Woolies plastic bag, but seen carrying this fancy gift bag. It looks like a gift bag, but it's actually a shopping bag. So those are some of the things, understanding your clients. If you go to Versace, you know, or the Diamond Walk in Sandton, their packaging should really, you know, command what they are selling in there. And then some of the features. Is there a question? Okay. We'll also, with your marketing your marketing mix also looks at the functionality, the features, and the benefits. In order to begin to understand the product from a customer's point of view, you need to the list the functionality, the features, and the benefit that the product have. What do you mean by the functionality? We're talking about, why is the product useful? What needs does it fulfill? And the featured, what differentiates the product from others, and what makes it special. The benefits, what are the benefits of owning the product? So these are some of the after sale service, the full service, the warranties, you know, your even when you're buying cars, your motor plan, then you know you set for at least the next 3 to 5 years, depending on the duration of your motor plan, that you won't be paying for servicing the car. Therefore, because servicing a car is can leave a huge dent on your bank account. So those are the things that people look at when they're actually making the decisions to buy, and whose motor plan lasts longer than you know, what is BMW offering better than Mercedes-Benz. And they are competitors, so they tend to keep check on what the other is doing. So you know, when you're at that level, you probably will look more on the functionality and features. What does this one offer better than the other one? And I think the other thing was the aesthetics. What pleases your eye better than the other? You know, when you're really competing, what can I say, fiercely or aggressively. When competitors, they tend to be similar, but it's small things that are different. Another issue, another aspect of the marketing mix that we look at is the distribution. What distribution are you? What is your distribution strategy? Basically, when you talk about distribution, is the transmission of goods and services from the producer or seller to the user. There are 5 main areas that affect your distribution plan. The elements that we look at is the market coverage. So the product may be under-penetrated. You don't have sufficient stores for you to actually sell your product, or it is over-penetrated. There are too many stores in a given area. And these are some of the things that, for example, when you looking at franchising, they take that into consideration just to make sure that they protect their brand. There is no over concentration of the brand or of the stores. But even if you are not you are not a franchisee, it's just your business and you have various branches, it's important to take those things into consideration, because you'll find that the benefits, unless you know that you've done your cost benefit analysis and it is worth it, your consumers, in fact, it's in their benefit. So they are not, so too many stores is not an absolute number, is in relation to your consumers, because sometimes you'll hold back and not open stores and the consumers are too many and they end up standing in queues because your product is in high demand. So those are the things you need to be careful about. And then depending on the outlets and channel types, what is the reach to your target market, and also from a competition point of view, your competition may dominate certain channels, so you need to be aware of that, so that you can move and look at other outlets that that will give you won't be in the shadow of the competition. So those things are important, as much as you would have thought about that. But if your competition it makes it difficult for you to have presence, maybe you look at alternatives. Also, you look at the geographical element. The distinct differences may be observed in product distribution depending on the geographical location and related dominating demographics of that region. So I think with your segmentation, you get to understand the various geographical locations. So it's not a one-size-fits-all distribution, but you also look at geographically what is happening, what is the best distribution strategy. Distribution strategy in Gauteng will not necessarily work in Free State. So those are some of the things that you need to take into consideration. Also the timing, that is when and where and how quickly a product is launched into a region. This is particularly more important on the timing of this. If most of us have noticed, when we had normal times, you would notice that especially music in South Africa, a lot of people produce their songs, towards the end of the year in anticipation of your festive season, so that it can get the importance of the song is how much it's being played. So not just the radio time, the fact that when you're going to picnics, this song is playing, even people who didn't know about it, that's some kind of free marketing for you. You hear this song, you'll hear it from someone's car at a picnic, or you hear it whatever. So you don't just depend on the airtime that you get from the radio stations or the TVs. So the timing is also very important, and also it depends what kind of music you are producing. But the pop, the hip hop kind of songs, they tend to target the holiday season and your festive season. just to make sure, it grasps and people can go out and buy the music or download it. What promotional strategies are you employing? The promotions are where incentives are offered to clients to purchase from a particular real estate company, or in the context of a business, or some what can I say, developers. I think we touched on some of the things when we were talking about Balwin yesterday. Some well-known promotions that are offered on a continuous basis by some larger agencies are customer concierge and loyalty points. I think that's one of the predicaments that a lot of people are finding themselves in, especially with the clicks saga. That there is this call to boycott clicks, but if you have a cashback or a voucher that's already sitting in there and you were saving it, people are going to be torn, or people are like, okay, maybe let me just go one last time to actually make sure to I've earned those points, and I can so those are some of the things. So there's those loyalty points are really important. The types of promotional events, you can have media announcements on new products. We saw books are always, are launched at the bookstore. Exclusive books is quite good with that. You have infomercials, those running adverts that happen is usually during the day. You could have seminars, and make sure, if there is a conference, make sure that your product, a conference related to the product that you have it in there. You also have couponings. If you see in the shops, there will be coupons that you can buy this and get a 10 Rand off or something. It's a way of also promoting your product. There could be sampling as well. We spoke about that. Discounts, distribution of flyers. You find them in newspaper inlets. You just find them sometimes when. I remember when post boxes were a thing, you will find a lot of pamphlets amongst your amongst your mail. Billboards are some of the avenues that I use. Bonus packs, buy 2 for 3 kind of situation. So these are some of the things that you actually can employ in promoting your product. In some areas, in some spaces, if you introduce someone, you will get, for example, there was a dealership in Pretoria that if you buy, for example, you bought a car, if you bring someone who is interested in buying a car and just direct them to the same dealership and introduce them in there, they would give you, like, even if it's 1,000 Rand, So those are all kinds of promotional, marketing strategies that are employed by different institutions. Personal selling is more the face-to-face that happens, and it's something that estate agents, most of their selling is more, face-to-face interactions. Sometimes it could be via door-to-door sales. You can advertise yourself. If you have a post box outside, someone can actually leave your pamphlet in there. Telesales, we all know about that. It's big in South Africa. Sales reps visiting companies, they have those visits. They'll come and say, no, we just want to have a meeting with you just to see how you're doing, what's happening. Let me tell you. Sometimes if you in some cases, estate agents, they will call you up and say, no, just wanted to have a chat with you, see how, seeing that I sold you this property, how is it doing? How is the family growing? There's a development coming, will you be interested? I can see the family has grown in size, and all those things. It looks like more like a courtesy call, but it's a way, because they're looking for repeat business from you. Sales stuff in frontline positions, merchandise displays. We see that all the time in the shops. Promotional sales events where people actually literally, so you don't find the samples in a magazine. Individuals literally come to you, and it happens at malls. When you pass the shop, there are people standing at the door offering you, the samples of what they're doing. Outlet staff training, yeah, this happens a lot. We, as part of the training, in Edgar's, they can do, trying to sell you a product. They don't just sell you the product, but they actually, for example, if you're buying makeup, they will say, can we give you a free makeover, but it's a way of selling their product, so that you don't just look at it, but you automatically can see how it's gonna make you the value that you're gonna get from it. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions? Do we have any marketers amongst us? Maybe they can share, their experiences. But I remember when we started, we were looking. Most of us. I don't remember people in the marketing space, or if you were in that space in your previous job or whatever you were doing in the past. Okay. Any questions? Any comments?
With me, hi, Sisnumsa. It's Abongile here.
Hi. Good evening. Yes.
With me.
Hello. You may go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm saying with me, I think I have applied such a strategy where people, on the side, as much as I work for an architectural regulatory body, I also run my own company on the side, which does branding, and where I design websites. So what I've done is, if I have had clients where I built their websites, what I would do, I would then, after maybe a month or so, just to give them that, as you put it, it's sort of a courtesy call, but you are looking for a business reputation. So I would call them, find out how is their website, offer them search optimization services, or offer them social media management services. And on many occasions, that trick has always worked.
So definitely, those personal selling, and sometimes you find yourself, doing repeat business, not necessarily because the product is the greatest, but it's such a pleasure to work with a particular sales individual. You're not going to have any hassles. Even if there are hassles, this sales agent sorts out my problems, swiftly. So, investing in your people as well is very important. As much as you can have this good quality product, but if the experience is not the greatest, you might lose customers, consumers. And so thank you for sharing that. Any other? So with all the information that we've just gone through, following up on the virtual organization, you look at what selling strategies, having done all this understanding what works for you, understanding the business that you are in, and what is the best strategy that you can employ in line. So if you chose a bakery, for an example, bakery, who is your target market? Are you doing large scale, or you have people coming on a daily basis? Are you supplying probably to a spa? Okay, spas have bakeries, but are you supplying your goods somewhere else? Maybe you are doing a specialized product that spa is not necessarily producing. So those are some of the things you look at. You're a bakery. Are you doing wedding cakes? It takes a lot. It's not something that you do, once off. So those are some of the things. Depending on what is the product you're selling, then what is the selling strategy that you will apply in your business. So that is basically what we'll be looking at in this area. Okay, another concept that we look at is the advertising. Most of the things we've spoken about, they touch on the advertising, but in here we're focusing exactly how are we going to approach our advertising. So now that you have decided how to position your price, to distribute and sell your product, you're ready to prepare the advertising segment of your marketing plan. Advertising can build an awareness and positive attitude towards a product, and it can push people to actually make a sale. It is the most visible way to communicate a marketing message. Some of the advertising avenues you look at print, television, radio, internet, and just being on the outdoors and communicating your marketing message through pamphlets or different ways. This is one way of communication that is targeted at a specific audience and takes place in order to advertise the property to buyers. So, when you're actually advertising in your print, in your television, in the internet, you're pushing the message. There is no opportunity for people to ask questions about it. So you just need to make sure that it is clear, because an individual, when they see your advert, they should be able to answer whatever questions in their head just by looking at your advert. So crafting your advertising message becomes very important in here, unlike personal selling, when someone can actually ask you questions and you can immediately give them feedback and sort them out. The process of creating the advertising message. So firstly, you must define your advertising objective. As we've said, make sure your objectives. For example, you say increase unaided awareness among the target market from 18 to 25%, or establish a leadership image with 25% of the target market. This is how these objectives are crafted. Who can tell me what is missing in here? You happy with the objectives? Is there you happy with how we've crafted our objectives in here? Any comments? Okay, maybe what we need to do in here is to ask ourselves, is your objective smart enough? It says we must increase, but it doesn't say by when. You can measure the increase. So these are some of the things. It's important that you always remember, if you're talking about an objective, you apply the SMART principle just to test because what's going to be important, the minute the objective is not clear, even your team will not know. The other person is like, oh, okay, maybe in 3 years' time we can achieve this, only to find that you were looking at achieving this in the next 12 months. So it's important to always test your objectives and against the SMART principle. So both the objectives as stated in here, they need to be improved and worked on. Yeah. So the next step in creating the advertising, you must think about the message. You prepare your message strategy. What exactly do you need to look at? What kind of questions you must ask yourself? Firstly, you ask yourself, who are you talking to? So it must be clear that you, by this time, you should have clearly defined what is your target market. And what is the point that you're trying to put across? So you make sure that you develop a message, not slogans and images, but what exactly you want to say to the target market. So that's very important. Clarity. The next one is more like you identify the most important word in your message. Is it quality? Is it service? Is it family? Is it friendly, family friendly? Is it cool? If you're targeting your target market is the group that being hip and cool is important. So you use the language that relates to your target market and the message you want. So if you're talking about hip and cool, you tend to be less formal, unlike when you're talking with someone who's looking for a level of quality. The language there becomes more, formal and all that stuff. And when you send your message, it should be so catching that someone, like, oh, okay. So they shouldn't like, okay, and then what? So why should I care? What is in it for me? It should be so catching that you catch the attention of your target market. It is very clear what they're gonna get out of it. It's not a vague message. The person can clearly see the value in what you are selling just by the message you put out there. Why should I believe you? So I think it goes back when we're talking about sometimes when you put personalities next to your name, to your brand, like we were talking earlier on about Lionel Messi and Pepsi. And there was a time where Lay's, the chips, the crisps, they had Messi, all the way. And I'm sure young boys, who love soccer, Lay's was the thing, because it even, as we said, you spoke about perception. If you love soccer and you see Messi eating those Lay's chips, you probably think they must be helping him in kicking that ball and performing all those tricks. And they say children are one of the what can I say, the biggest influencers, or they influence what eventually gets bought. Hence, you have all the sweets close to the cashiers because the kids are standing there, they're bought. Mom, can I have these sweets? Can I have these chocolates? They were not part of the grocery list, but you're standing there with them. It's one of the things that you will eventually buy. So even with things like the chips, they will be so convinced that, I would like, can I please have the Lay's? In their minds, it's going to improve their soccer skills, even though, and you're also saying if Messi is happy to be associated with this brand, Messi is an achiever, then you're like, it's a good quality product, I can also be in there and also consume this particular product. What emotion does your message invoke in your consumers? So, do they feel important? They feel their status is achieved just by how by how you phrase the things, the messages. For example, who was this? I think it was Panasonic, Quest for Zero Defect. It was a slogan, it was not, but just that slogan that they had, you're like, if I buy a Panasonic, I will never go wrong. Defects, that's what they are striving for. That whatever you buy from them, the chances of having defects is very minimal, even though they will still give you a warranty, but you won't have that inconvenience of taking it back and wait for it to be fixed or to get another one. Once you buy their product, it's going to work. It's going to deliver on what they promised. And also, the message must assist the action that you would like to be taken. How, what do you want me to do? That's the question. What do you want your consumers to do now that you've done this? If you for example, it's a message that's on the website. Can I buy this now? Download it now, or should I visit the store? We have 150 branches around the country already. You feeling okay? This is accessible, because it could discourage you when you realize that the shops are far. It's fine. I'll settle for the alternative to this particular product, but to get the action, because it's a good thing to tell someone all the nice things, but the most important thing about all this marketing is to make a sale at the end of the day. So helping them, to helping your consumers to know exactly where or how they can access this good is something that should kind of find its way, into your messages, in your marketing message or advertising message per se. Yeah. Any comments or questions? So basically, this exercise is to actually develop that message for your organization that you will be working on. It's exactly the same, the questions that we've just gone through. Any points of clarity? Is everyone still happy? Okay.
Happy.
All right. Merchandising is is one of the marketing options that we are employing, where we communicate the link between a product and the consumer. Public relations is also some of the marketing tools that we use. So this one is more to communicate the perceptions of your product or your service to the general public. So distribution of press release to the media is an important tool towards improving public relations. So those are some of the avenues that you can look at. Public relations, it will work in a way you want to improve. It's a strategy that you can use when you want to improve your brand reputation and credibility, to communicate with a variety of audiences. Your customers are overloaded with messages from competitors, so you just have that one press release. Your service is complex, so when you have a press release, it gives, especially if you could have a press release that is written, it gives an opportunity that you can also explain more details than just a small advert. You also, if you have an existing product, you want to add more information. So these are the circumstances. So when you're looking at your what is it? When you're doing the assignment, you kind of look, is PR relevant for my business? So these are the pointers in what kind of businesses, if you have a shop, the cell phone shop and other gadgets, your product is going to be kind of technical. So PR is something that you need to take into consideration. So these are some of the things that you could look at. If you're going into a new product partnerships, press release, we see that all the time. When PSL gets a new sponsorship, it becomes a big thing. It will make the news. There will be a press conference. There will be a media release, maybe in the newspaper or something to that effect. So these are the things that, these are the circumstances where you could consider public relations as one of the tools you can use, marketing tools. The websites, it's a cheap way of promoting your product. So when you're talking media, you're talking a couple of items. So websites, they tend to be cheaper than other avenues. Media includes TV. We'll talk more about that. So if you're on the website, at least you can read more about this product, and at the end of the day, when you actually want to buy it, you can immediately just download it. For example, having a website, even if you're not just selling via a website, but having a website gives your consumer that comfort that you can learn more about the product on the website. But if the only opportunity you have to market it is when you put an advert, maybe on TV, then even if consumers have questions, they don't have an avenue. So websites helps to give more information. It is good for innovators and early adopters, people looking for better ways. So it helps you to do more research. The difficulty with web pages is that it is a very crowded space. So so you must be, even if you are on the internet, you must make sure that you craft your keywords very nicely, so that when people are looking for what you offer, they don't have to go through a lot of information before they actually find you. So make sure that the keywords in your website makes it easy for your target market to find you. Other medias is direct mailing. There is the response rate is about 1%. Classified adverts, it's very expensive. And the key to classified adverts is frequency. So you can't just run a once-off classified advert. It needs to continuously appear in there. So people will see it, but not necessarily, they will immediately forget about it. Product reviews is another way that helps, because when someone is actually giving you feedback, you're telling yourself that, okay, this is an independent person who is telling me about this product, so I'm bound to believe them, because now it's a third-party confirmation. When you hear the message directly from the manufacturer or the person who actually owns this thing, you always have that thing that this person might be biased in the message that they are giving to me. But if it is a third party, then you get comfort. It's great exposure. But then what is important when you're going to put your product out there for review, make sure that you've tested it, because once you get a bad review, unfortunately, it will be out there, So just make sure that you do proper and full, complete testing, because you're also happy. You're not you've tested everything. There are no surprises, because a bad review will remain a bad review. And unfortunately, people pay more attention on bad reviews. Simple thing, TripAdvisor. you would get, you're looking, there's this lodge, you would like to visit it. You will go in there, you look at the good ones, like, oh, okay, it's the average out of 1,000 review on a scale of 1 to 5, it's a 4.5. But you always get attracted. You want to also, the very few ones that are bad, what are they saying? And you find yourself focusing a lot on the few bad reviews, but it's not easy to let go of them, as much as you've seen that the majority of people are rating this place very well. But I don't know, I think fear likes to consume human beings. They are easily consumed by fear. You will just now start focusing on these bad things that people said didn't work. And the reality is that if 5 out of 1,000 people had a bad experience, that is exactly that. When you look at the balance, the probability that this will happen to you, because nothing is perfect. There is nothing that is perfect, but if you choose to focus on that, then it's going to be a problem. But to try, as a person who's the provider of a product or a service, you try and find ways of managing that. Radio also gives you a large audience. It is costly, but what is nice about radio, if you time the slots where your advert will play, then every other 30 minutes your advert will play. So if you do it during the morning drive time, when people are going to work, then it will be repeated. On average, you spend, during the normal times in Gauteng, you spend about 2 hours on the road. So you could hear, depending where you work, you could hear the advert 4 times, and then it becomes, it can make an impact on you if you're on radio. The radio, knowing that there are different types of radios, there are community radio stations, there are regional radio stations, there are national radio stations. So when you choose the radio avenue, you should also take into consideration who is going to be your target market, because different people, even if it's a national radio station, different people listen to Umhlobo Wenene compared to people who listen to 702. So you need to understand your target market and then know exactly where to put your advert. Is your target market listening to Motsweding FM, or is it listening to Radio 2000? So those are some of the things that you need to take into consideration. Television is also a large audience, but it is extremely, extremely expensive. It's something that I think most of us have seen. It's large national companies that go in there. It's rare that you find small businesses. What is this? SAB at some point in time did give an opportunity to put their customers there. They would, there was, I'm not sure what I would call it, but there was at some point in time where they will show a particular, an up and coming, I think it was more part of their empowerment project or CSI of some sort. So as much as it's an SAB advert, but they will show SAB delivering at this particular establishment. You could see it was small businesses, but indirectly those people got exposure via television. So those are some of the opportunities. Of course, that was all done on SAB's budget, not necessarily the small individuals, but they had the opportunities, those small companies, to actually get that exposure. It's television is very specialized, so definitely you'll have to deal with specialized advertising companies when you want to go that route. Hence, it becomes expensive because it's not something that you would usually be able to do in-house as a business owner. All right. Again, touching on this. So this is all, bringing it back to your, this one is more, no, it's not talking to the virtual company. Let's just talk about this one. What in your various areas of work, which marketing media or methods are used, and do you believe it works? And so maybe if we can just briefly just have a discussion on what are the kind of in your business, in your wherever you're working, or in your business that you're running, what marketing methods do you use? Okay. Tebogo. Hello, do I still have an audience?
Yes,
We are here.
Oh, okay. All right. Can we just share what's happening in your various places of work? What happens as far as marketing is concerned? If you can just share with us which business you are in and what methods or strategies are being. We don't have to answer all these questions, just to show what's happening in your various areas of work.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes, my dear.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
I'm in construction, and I will just focus on one aspect, which is the concrete that I ventured into. So what we have done is that we've purchased a volumetric mixer, as opposed to the olden way of mixing concrete. You see the drums, whereby
Yes.
a batching plant, and then you batch on site and then load your concrete into the mixer. The one that we got is a movable batching plant, which now has raw materials inside, and it can reach remote areas, and we don't have a problem where now your concrete will dry up while you are on the way. So we establish on the client side, and you get the concrete fresh. So it was actually a good one, because on the marketing side, most of the clients are loving the idea of the concrete being with us batching on their side. So we find it easier because we can reach any remote site without experiencing any problems and adding any additives to the concrete to keep it fresh.
Oh, okay. Wow. So how do you market that? How do you reach the clients that you've managed to service? Yeah.
I mostly I go to the human settlement, because the strategy was that it's easier to establish on sites, meaning I will need to look at sites that are pouring in volumes. So the marketing strategy was to target, like, for example, your RDP. So what I did was that I looked at human settlement, I looked at the clients that they had there, and then I went and pitched to them.
Oh, okay. So the contractors that got business from human settlement.
Yeah, human settlement, I went and pitched to them, say, okay, as you opposed to having concrete being delivered to you, having X coming to your side with 3 drums, I'm there on site. I can give you so much concrete in a day, and it works.
Okay. Oh. Wow, that's good. And also, they also happy with the quality because it's done there, and it's, if it passes on the batching plant, like you said, it's not dry up during the transportation process.
So Yeah, so it's got a lot of advantages. You can even change your mix design and your strengths as and when the client requires right there on site.
Okay. Wow, impressive. Thank you, Sidi. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else who would like to share?
No, Misa.
Yes.
I'm in the. I'll talk about our property development and company.
Yes.
And we've been trying to do quite a lot of research on how to properly market, and also working with people who have been in the business for long, who have the know-how. And what I learned is that a combination of marketing tools is appropriate, especially in property, because these people that we have been working closely with, learning from, they don't use one particular strategy. For example, they would say we are going to advertise on whether it's Property 24, but they will still advertise on all different kinds of social media, because we know that especially the young people, your 35s and below, those are like your social media socialite, and that's where you easily access them. And they also use ads at the same time, whether it's print media or it's still media and billboarding. And I was asking, why do you use so many things? And what was also interesting, they also something they call strategic marketing alliances. And that is where they go to their competitors and partner with them to say, we've got this development coming. Are you interested in assisting us with the selling of the units off plan? And they reach an agreement to say, if we sell, do we then all get the proceeds of the sales? So they've got these very little things, but they said in property, if you focus on one, you are not going to reach your market, because these people are everywhere. It's either new people who want to get out of home, or people who want to just investors. So somebody who wants to get out of home now, it's not an investor. They want a new home, but there's still an investor who would want to buy into the same development. And that person, you might not necessarily find them in social media, but in some kind, maybe in your strategic marketing alliances, or in your direct advertisement. So you will have different kind of customers for your development, and all of them, you can reach them with different kinds of media, and therefore you have to apply both in order to attract them, because it's a big development. If you don't do that, then you are only targeting a few and you will not sell. So so I found that with different businesses, your strategy will really differ, and the property one seems to be very, very compact.
No, man, no, that's interesting, because as much as we looking, the people who are gonna stay there are your youngsters, but it could be a parent who would like their child to give their child a startup. So now you're not talking to the person who goes on social media. So definitely you need to even though they're buying for the child, but the person who's buying now is a parent, more like so you should be able to reach them as well, because they look at it as an investment on behalf of their children, but you're not going to find them on Facebook per se. So it helps. So you shouldn't just think about who's going to stay there. It's more about who's going to be buying,
yes. Because lately there's a lot of investors who will go to these new developments. They will buy and rent out. Those people, they are not in your social media forever. They are in your business meetings, in Microsoft meetings where they are making deals. So how do you get to those people who are constantly making deals to come and buy in your development and rent it out? So you need to find that strategy that reaches them.
So I guess that's why it's called a marketing mix. It's not a one size fits all. You just need to understand your target market. I think that's what's the important thing. Understand your target market and do everything in your power to get them to actually buy your product or your service.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, everyone. We are 8 minutes past 7. My apologies, we ran over. Are there any other comments before we wrap up and close for the night?
Yes, Mimisa. I've been trying to look for a place
Yes,
to
yes.
raise up my hand, but
Oh,
I don't know if
okay.
you can hear me.
Yes, we
Where I
can.
am, the network. Thank you. Um, I I think it would be a great time, at least whilst we are still on this topic, to bring on board your TPN and Lightstone. So I think let's work on that perhaps for the next week or two. Lightstone and rather Lightstone and TPN. What I would also like is just for us to get perhaps. I was trying to figure out which company would be the best marketing company, particularly in the 4IR. What the whole pandemic has done to us, it has forced us to really think or rethink business. Much of the ways that we knew about how to do marketing and all of that, they're changing very fast. So let's, whether we get Property 24, private property, or speak to Rina, they're the guys who do all these websites and mix marketing for all these big companies. We've just, is Rina here? No.
Yeah, she should be. But her network is giving. Rina, are you here? I know
She
she had
sent a message.
challenges. Yeah, she did mention. But I'll convey the message. I'll have a discussion with her as well.
Yeah, so there's a company that we did. If there are better ones, anyone would suggest, let's get them here just so that we can be a lot more relevant, find out what's really happening in the market out there and all of that. Let's get TPN, let's get Lightstone. And in the meantime, perhaps in the new week, I would suggest that we start lining up even our own internal people. We have your Lightstone that we've been using and all of that, just in preparation, so that people can know that some of the things, I mean, it might sound like it's things that are there out there and easier to take them for granted. But all those things are mixed tools. When we usually do our marketing campaigns, you would find that we have been informed by some of these tools we are talking about that you find, whether it's Windeed, Lightstone, lately your Property 24 and all of that. So it's really important that we can understand also just the market segments from the tools that are there to really start looking into those market segmentations. In conclusion, perhaps just to add, tomorrow it's a very special day. It's a debut day for us to really start looking into bringing people from the market. We agreed that on Thursdays we would really want to get practical, really have real examples, and apply some of the knowledge base that we have. So it is really a great honor and a privilege that tomorrow we will be hosting Hemo Prias. He's a renowned economist. Please invite all friends. Let's really have an engagement. I'm inviting all the people that I know in my cycle so that we can really have an honest conversation. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also proud to say that we will also be having Patricia, who is one of us here, who will present her own project prior to the presentation, the conversation that we'll have, just to warm up and remind people what exactly we are here for. I would like her to just touch base on her project, her journey, the successes and challenges, the exciting things for Bono. Her company is Bono. It's a fully funded project that she has talked about it in bits and pieces, but I would really want her to give an opportunity. And maybe without messing it up, let me do a proper intro and all of that tomorrow, because there is also a very nice, interesting a story behind just their success in their project. One of the few people who came, and within a month they had already closed a deal through the mentorship that we had been offering back then. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I hope you all can be looking forward to it. Let's be expectant. Let's prepare ourselves to host Hemo Prius. Yes, Hemo Prius. Without any further ado, that's all that I wanted to just say in closure. And thank you. I don't know if this is the closure or you still need to say something in this.
No, it is the closure. Thank you very much, Dendi, and good night. Thank you, everyone, for gracing us with your presence, and good night. See you tomorrow.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Thank you very much.
Good night. Good night.
Yes.
Good night.